when we say API chaining, right? So it means the APIs are actually interrelated, right? So that means the response of one API, we are extracting some information and we are feeding that information to the next API, right? The first example could be the API keys or token, right? So because most of the APIs, the auth is the first step. So we may need the API key or token, receive from another API to proceed, basically. So that is one example, but no, that is not the only example actually. So most of the cases you can see when you want to complete user flows or workflows, right? So you may need to extract the details from the body of one API and add it to the another API. Okay, so programmatically, how we will be doing it in Postman is like we will be setting those things in environment variable or collection variable, and then no, we will use those values in the next request, basically. So the flow is look like this. Like suppose you have a request, right? Then get the token, right? And then this is request 1, okay, and then pass it to request 2. Okay, now suppose from request 2 you are get some parameter, okay, and then you are passing to request 3, and so on. I mean, depending on the scenario you will be testing. So let me give you one example so that it is more clear. One scenario we'll consider. Okay, so first thing is authorize user. Then we will do like search a product, then add the product to cart, then perform checkout. So this is one flow for me. Now, no, this flow I can use, I can do using as a guest user or as an authorized user, right? Like valid customer in any like websites you can imagine, like Amazon or Flipkart or any website, like where we can do some purchasing. So once now in my request 1, right? So what I'll get, right? So I will get the token, right? So I'll get the token or API key, right? Anything. Now once I have the API key or token, to use, I'll go to my request 2, right? So I will search a product, right? For product search, what and all I'll be adding. I'll add the API key, right? And I'll get the product, basically. So product list, right? It will give me returns, for example, product list, right? So I know now, okay, based on my search parameter, it has given me a list of product, okay? And then I will be knowing, like, suppose it is giving like product ID, right? Name, price, right? Quantity, and so forth, right? So all the product related stuff. Now, next thing is I want to add a particular product from this list to the cart, right? So basically in that API, definitely I need the product ID or name, whatever is unique, I have to pick it, right? Based on my API implementation. So without a product ID, I will not be able to add the product to cart. Now in my request tree, right? I have to construct my now request tree. Now request tree add to cart. I'll use my product ID, for example, right? So I'll use the product ID and the request will be, it will return a cart object, right? So like, so and so product, so and so quantity has been added to the cart and you are ready to check out, right? The cart object can have like, cart ID or your product details, product object also, right? A lot of other things will be there. Now, finally, I need to do checkout, right? So I have to construct my last API, right? Now my last request 4. So I will do a checkout with the what I'll give basically API keys will be always there, right? Add to cart also you have to add the API key along with product ID, because without API key you will not be able to authenticate, right? Since you want to do it as a customer, right? Now while doing the checkout I'll pass API key and or token, whatever it is, then product ID, which will be part of maybe my cart object, right? So whatever mandatory things are needed, I will add and I'll send a request. So once this you execute this 4 requests in sequence, right? So your end-to-end scenario will happen the way you are doing it from browser, right? So like logging in, then searching product to cart, checkout. So we are doing the same thing using API, same scenario using API, but since this is a step-by-step scenario, APIs are needed, so you are doing also it step by step. So we have to construct a chain basically, right? And we have to construct a chain and then we will pass execute this entire flow. And if your tokens are good, your product ID is good, then you should be able to successfully add the product to cart and perform the checkout. In a high level, this is the concept we use generally in API chaining. Okay, like extract some information from the previous request, which it will return maybe in the header or body, wherever it is. Like suppose your request is returning the API token in the header, response header, right? Request 1. Or you can return, mostly you will get it in the response body, but sometimes you may get it in the response header. So in that case you have to parse the response header, get the token, and then pass it to the next request basically. Now when you execute things from something like Postman, right? So or maybe Rest Assured, right? So you have to actually save those intermediate results, right? So you have to parse your response basically, extract whatever information you need, and then pass it to the next request. So for example, you want a token, right? So you have to save it somewhere to use in the next request. So Postman provides like you can save it to any kind of variables, right? So in our variable sections discussion we have seen Postman has different kinds of variable, right? So here we can save it in environment variable or collection variable depending upon the type of value you want to save. And once it is saved it in the variable, so how you will save it? Basically you have to save it in the test tab, right? So you can access the response only in the test tab. And then next request, what you have to do in the pre-request tab, you have to extract it. Okay, and you can set it. This is how things will be done. So let's see. Before going to code, I just want you to understand this. No, at least in theoretically, like how it works.